It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life's Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. Finding out you have cancer can be devastating. Feelings of depression, anxiety, and fear are common. Today's guest, Douglas Wick, was diagnosed with late-stage leukemia. His journey from diagnosis to today is inspiring, and it offers hope to anyone traveling the same road. Welcome, Doug. Thank you so much for joining us.
Honored to be here. Thank you, Joan.
So, Doug, let's start at the beginning. What were you experiencing when you were diagnosed? Were you having any health issues at the time?
I was having some minor issues. With my, I had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I couldn't get my blood sugar levels down, and been working on it for weeks. And the night before I actually did a blood test, I was at a basketball game with my son, and climbing up the stairs, my legs felt like they were lead in them, and so I was concerned and worried about that. And when I went in to do the blood test the next day, I was hoping to find out what the verdict was. And when the doctor called me back later that afternoon, he had indicated to me that I had to get to the hospital immediately, get to the emergency room, because I was anemic. My blood levels were about half of what they should be for a person my size. So that's what was immediately causing the concern and why I had to go to the hospital, and when I found out I had cancer.
Doug, when was the last blood test you had before that time? Did this happen quickly?
Yeah, it seemed to happen really quickly, and I couldn't even tell you when the last blood test was. At least 6 months or maybe even a year since before it happened. Yeah. So
everything was looking good at that time. So when you ended up going to the hospital and they did extensive studies, what did they find?
They found out I was in the hospital overnight on a Friday night. I went in. I'd never been really into the hospital ever before, and they did tests on me. Gave me transfusions to hopefully bring my blood levels back up to the appropriate level. And the next morning, the doctor came in and matter of factly announced that it appeared I had acute myeloid leukemia. And at that same time, he told me that it looked like I'd probably have to be in the hospital for up to a year, and which was devastating to me. I can remember just being both shocked and angry at the time, because I was the sole breadwinner for our family, and I didn't know. I had 2 young children at the time, and wasn't sure how I was going to be able to navigate that. So it was just devastating, to say the least. Yeah.
Why did he say you would have to be in the hospital for a year?
Well, that's normally the treatment for acute myeloid leukemia. You get put into a private room because of they have to reduce your blood levels so low for the cancer treatment that you just have to be isolated. And he said usually that's what the length of time that most patients are in for. That is, if they do eventually get cured. And he did add that to that statement that if you survive. So it was gut-wrenching.
Is that what you did, Doug? You then checked yourself into the hospital?
Yeah, I did, and frankly, that day I can remember because I was so worried about financially what would happen to my family, with me being the sole earner in our family. I just told the doctor to shoot me now, because I was, I thought, I didn't know what with something like cancer, I didn't have any idea what my insurance would cover or wouldn't cover, and I was afraid that my family was going to end up in bankruptcy. So we went down that next day and checked into the hospital at the University of Iowa. Yes. Yeah.
And so what did you experience during the next 12 months?
Well, during the next 12 months, actually the next 7 months, I went through 5 chemotherapies. When I got into the hospital, my bone marrow was 84% cancerous, and immediately they said you've got less than a 10% chance of survival here. But it got worse because they also found out I had monosomy 7 with the tests that happened during the first week. And what monosomy 7 is a condition where your chromosome, in this case my 7th chromosome, wasn't duplicated. So they said it's going to be more difficult. So by the time I went through the 5 chemos, I had less than a 2% chance of cancer remission. And so I had to do something. I felt I needed to do something else. And one of my friends from Israel actually contacted me, and we were in contact, having a weekly meeting. And he had suggested I read a book by Joe Dispenza. I think you've had Joe on your program, which was called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I had some success meditating earlier in my life, and so I started meditating in addition to doing a number of things. In fact, I created much like what I did for my business. I'd always been creating dashboards. I, in essence, created a new dashboard just for my health to monitor my habits of meditating every day, making positive affirmations, exercising every day, and then researching ways to possibly find another way to cure my cancer. So that was kind of my routine, and I did something different as well when I got into the hospital, which was the first thing I did is I decided I'm not going to wear the hospital gowns and everything else because I felt that would mean I was a victim of what was going on. I just decided I was going to get up every day and dress like I did when I was home and at work. And in fact, after the first week, the physician assistant there asked me, I asked him, can I work from the hospital? And I ended up actually working from my hospital bed for the nearly 7 months, 8 months that I was in the hospital, which kind of ticked off some of the people, nurses and doctors, because I would have signs on my door that would say, in a meeting or I'm meditating, and which meant they couldn't enter, which was not something you probably see too much at a hospital.
But you know what? I wish it was something we saw more of, because you are a testament to why I do this work and the purpose of this work. And you're right. Dr. Joe Dispenza has been on the show a few times. And what you just shared was that you were in a situation where many people would say, this is it, I'm done. They would check out and really give up. But at the moment when they were telling you had a 2% chance of survival was when you, I would say, got your head in the game, so to speak. You turned it around. And do you feel that you had that you were really the person that changed this around? Do you credit yourself for your survival?
Well, I certainly have to give myself credit for the outcome. I would say, the me and the creator, okay, because I believe that there was, powers beyond me that helped me. But I believe I helped set the stage by having the discipline and believing, I think as we talked about before, I'm responsible. I felt responsible for why I got cancer, which frankly, the first day or two I beat myself up about. But frankly, the truth is if I was responsible for somehow unconsciously or whatever getting cancer, then I was also responsible for being able to get rid of cancer. I had a doctor that told me, this is about, after the 5 chemotherapies that I had, that looked at my chart when I got back home, and we were doing some transfusions. She said, Doug, go home, spend what time you have remaining with your family and your loved ones. And the truth was I had been meditating, and I never believed I was going to die. I can't explain why I felt that way, but I did. I just didn't feel that way. And I remember after that meeting meditating, after the doctor, I was getting transfusions. I meditated, and after that meditation, I realized, as part of Dispenza's meditation process, you go through an element of deciding how is it gonna be when you make it out. And I realized that I hadn't been envisioning that. I hadn't been feeling it in my heart. And when I got back to the hospital the next time, something miraculous occurred there in my hospital room that gave me the idea that I was going to be cured. And 4 weeks later, I discovered I was cured when they did the final clinical trial, which eventually got me free of my cancer.
Doug, what were you visualizing during those meditations?
It would probably take me too long to tell you the whole process, but in one of the last pieces of the process that Dispenza has you do is imagine or envision what it would be like whatever trial or whatever challenge you're trying to overcome, you're past that. And I envisioned myself on a beach in Hawaii. My children were coming. My wife and I were there, and frankly, I was there to speak to a group on how I had managed to conquer my cancer. And so when I got back to the hospital after this doctor had told me to just live the rest of my life and kind of give up, more or less, I would meditate. And when I would finish the meditation, there were several times when I came out of that meditation literally crying because I had been there. I'd been on the beach. I'd been in front of those people speaking at what had happened. And very shortly after that, is when the miracle occurred that I got a picture on my screen that told me my cancer was going to be cured. I went through the clinical trial, and one night I'm home because when you get they drill into your back to get your biopsy. They tell you to go home for a couple of days because it takes you a couple of days to get the results from that. And I got a call about 9:30 at night on a warm summer night in July, and it was from my doctor. And he said, "Doug, I don't normally call my patients this late at night, but I don't normally have this good of news either to tell them." And he said, "Doug, the results of your biopsy came back, and there's absolutely no trace of cancer in your bone marrow."
Doug, in addition to everything that you just described to us that you did you make any other lifestyle changes?
Lifestyle changes, I was conscious more of what I was eating, but I don't think I made real choices there that significantly altered my diet. I lost a lot of weight in the hospital, which was, I think, normal through chemo. But the main thing I did was the meditation. I would meditate an hour, probably sometimes 2-3 hours a day. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I might be getting anxious about it, and instead of being anxious about it, I would meditate. And other than that, I did consciously make an effort to every day be positive, to dress normal, not wear the gowns that people would normally do, and then also just say positive affirmations. I'm a big believer in positive affirmations, and anytime I would get a feeling of concern or anxiety about it, I would just repeat an affirmation that I would have to keep myself focused on the outcome and a positive view on life.
And so by dressing up the way you did and showing up for life, you at that moment decided you weren't going to die. You were going to have your life back.
Exactly. I took, in my mind, I just simply decided I'm going to be responsible for this, and I believe I'm going to survive and thrive. I'm not sure if our listeners would be familiar with the Stockdale paradox, but in essence, Admiral Stockdale was the highest-ranking Vietnam prisoner of war, and he has a quote which, in essence, says, "I believe that that I would come through the situation." I think he spent 7 years in the prison in North Vietnam, and he said, "I believed I was going to come through this and be better than what I was for having done it, and I never gave up faith that was what was going to happen." And it was a powerful reminder to me that I was going to come through this and be a better person than I had before I came into it.
You were given a 2% chance of surviving. Did any of the doctors that were working with you, did any of them ever say to you, "What did you do, Doug? Why are you still here?"
I don't recall anybody really asking me that. No, I mean, I do have, my doctor afterwards. In fact, I don't know that any of them told me I only had a 2% chance of survival until after I survived. But one of my doctors has said to me several times, you're a medical miracle, Doug. People just don't come through this like you did, and so, but nobody ever really asked me what I did differently.
Well, and that's, I ask everyone that question who's in a situation similar to what you've just expressed,
Right.
because I know if I was a doctor and I was looking at a patient that I was viewing as a medical miracle, I would say, "What did you do so I can tell other people?"
Yeah, and my guess is they believe that the medicine, the chemotherapy, was ultimately responsible for it, the clinical trial, and that's because their belief system is medicine works, and if you ask me, I would say the meditation, really is what helped me. I was fortunate, Joan, that I was healthy. Even when I got to the clinical trial, Dr. Carter explained, I interviewed him afterwards for my, the book I'm writing and have written, what the difference was in his mind. And he felt that, he said, by the time most people go through 5 chemotherapies and get to a clinical trial, in most cases, they're not even in a position to be able to get a clinical trial. So I just believe the doctors have such a infallible view of the medicine that they're and the applications that they use that's just naturally what they think, and they move on to the next patient. They're busy people,
Yeah.
So
I have a friend who was recently diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, and I remember the day her chemotherapy pills arrived at her home. I happened to be there that day, and she wanted to go into this journey with the mindset of welcoming the medication into her body, visualizing herself healing, because what she believed is if she was so fearful of the chemo and she was going to be afraid of all of the side effects that are listed, and the list is long, she would drive
yeah,
herself crazy and make herself sick. So what she decided to do was bless the chemotherapy the day it arrived and welcome it as her friend into her body. And I have to say, she has not experienced any one of those side effects to this date. We pray that continues, but I think it has a lot to do with the mindset.
I would, and I think your other right, change your attitude, change your life. I think that is so true. I think, I never imagined the chemo treating me badly or anything else. I never was afraid of the chemo, and your friend really is a great example of that idea of change your attitude, accept it, bless it, believe that it's going to be, save your life, and I think the outcome becomes much different if you're accepting and have the right attitude about it and expect positive things.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing this show with you today. So, Doug, for someone who has a new diagnosis and is facing a journey similar to what you experienced, what do you say to that person to offer him or her hope?
I think that that's a challenge depending on what the person is experiencing. If one of the things I found is that health, depending on how you feel, that can really have a great effect on your mindset. But if you can accept the idea that you're responsible and believe that things can, that you can have control over it, control everything that you can, control your attitude. I think attitude is so important, as you well know, and then look for other aspects of how you can possibly treat this and attack it, because in reality, take control of what you can control, and you'll feel much better about going through it. Whereas if you're just submissive to what's going on, you lose control of how of the outcome as well, in my mind. So I would just tell them to be very, very positive. Pray, whatever, meditate, whatever it is, exercise, do whatever is in their power. Create a dashboard and figure out here's how I am going to be working with whatever the medicine is you're going to plan to use to achieve the outcome that you want. Be a partner and be responsible for the outcome. And I think they'll find that they get a better outcome than they would otherwise.
I couldn't agree with you more because, as you said, doctors look at this as the medicine will do the job, and it will. The medicine will do what it's supposed to do. But equally, if not more important, is your role in that. You have to work as a team with the treatment. You have to take charge of your life. Like you said, meditate, get your head in the game, practice gratitude, eat nutritionally, move your body, anything you can do to aid the healing.
Yeah, there's an interesting book by Emmett Fox that says, in essence, that everybody has a different God. Okay, my God, I believe, can cure cancer. Okay, your God might not, and really, it is your belief system that determines the outcome. I feel is that 100% true? I don't know, but it certainly has proven its way in my life that if I believe I'm going to be able to be cured by this, and that's what I did, and I set out with the intention of achieving that and looking at what were my options, what are the activities that I can do to make this possible, that I'm going to survive this cancer, and I'm going to come out better for it. And if you look at the challenge that way, that not only am I going to survive this, I'm going to come out better because of it. I think that now you've got a purpose to live and a reason to live, and actually prove to everyone that this is not going to defeat you.
Doug, you have such an inspiring story, and I know you're working on a book now, and I know when that book comes out, it is going to change lives. And when it does, I want to have you come back on the show. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing so openly and honestly, because as I said, you are going to help so many people.
Thank you, Joan. Thanks so much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And I love your whole approach here with change your attitude, change your life. It's something I certainly and wholeheartedly believe in. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guest and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on social media. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.